Good evening. Welcome to Lumina Theatre Group's special holiday performance of Charles Dickens' timeless Yuletide story, here adapted for a cast of all ages by John O'Connor. We're so glad you could join us this evening. The play will last 70 minutes with one 5-minute intermission. Now sit back, relax, have a cup of cocoa or eggnog, have your Christmas cookies handy, and enjoy tonight's performance of
A Christmas Carol, a ghost story for Christmas by Charles Dickens.
Well done, Martha.
Read it, Grandfather.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Yes. Ghost story.
for Christmas.
Well, all right. But I might need a bit of help. Let's see now. Molly was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good for anything he chose to put his hand to. And oh yes, old Molly was as dead as a doornail.
Did Scrooge know he was dead, Grandfather?
Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and Molly had been partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole friend, and his sole mourner. He inherited all Molly's money.
But Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood years afterwards, above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley.
The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret and self-contained, and solitary as an oyster.
The cold within him froze his old features, stiffened his gait, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head, and on his eyebrows, and his wiry chin.
He carried with him his own low temperature always about. He iced his office in summertime and didn't thaw 1 degree at Christmas. No warmth could warm him, no wintry weather chill him.
Didn't he have any friends, Grandfather?
Oh, friends? Oh, dear me, no. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say, with gladsome looks,
My dear Scrooge, how are you? When will you come to see me?
No beggars implored him to bestow a trifle. No children asked him what it was o'clock. Even a blind man's dogs appeared to know him, and when they saw him coming on, would tug their owners into doorways and up courts.
But what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked.
Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy too.
And he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warm them.
Inside his counting house, Scrooge had a very small fire, but his clerk, Bob Cratchit's fire, was so very much smaller, it looked like a single coal.
Where are you going with that coal shovel, Mr. Cratchit?
Oh, Mr. Scrooge, sir, it was so cold in here, sir, that I thought I
Mr.
might...
Cratchit, if it is too cold for you here, perhaps you would prefer to seek employment somewhere else?
Oh, no, Mr. Scrooge.
Then back to your work, sir, if you please.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Ah, humbug.
Christmas, a humbug, Uncle. You don't mean that, I am sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come then, what right have you to be dismal? What reason have you to be morose? You're rich enough.
Ah, humbug.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. Out upon Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying your bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with his stake of holly through his heart.
Uncle,
Nephew, keep Christmas in your way and let me keep it in mine.
keep it, but you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good may it do you. Much good has it done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say, Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of less fortunate people as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and it will do me good, and I say, God bless it.
Hear, hear!
Let me hear another sound from you, Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
I'll dine alone, thank you.
But why? Why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Good afternoon.
Nay, uncle, but you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party. But I have made the effort in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Cratchit. A Merry Christmas to you.
And a very Merry Christmas to you too, sir.
There's another fellow, my clerk, with 15 shillings a week and a wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to the madhouse.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
Have we the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his generosity is well represented by his surviving partner.
Oh, it certainly is. You may be sure of that.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute who suffer greatly at the present time.
Many thousands are in want of common necessities.
Hundreds and thousands are in want of common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the workhouses, are they still in operation?
Well, they are still. I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law, are they still in full vigour then?
Both very busy, sir.
Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear it.
Aware that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to the multitude, a few of us are endeavouring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth.
We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to remain anonymous?
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask what I wish, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the prisons and the workhouses. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
Well, if they would rather die, they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it's nothing to do with me. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, may nothing you dismay.
Yeah. You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose?
If quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound. And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work?
It is only once a year, Mr. Scrooge.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day? Be here all the earlier next morning.
I will, sir. Thank you, sir.
Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's books, went home to bed.
He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner, Jacob Marley. They were a gloomy suite of rooms, in a lowering pile of building up a yard, and dreary enough, for nobody lived in it but Scrooge.
The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, was obliged to grope his way with his hands.
Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it night and morning during his whole residence in that place.
Let it also be borne in mind that Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon.
And then let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker not a knocker, but Marley's face.
Marley's face! It had a dismal light about it, like a bad lobster in a dark cellar.
It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up upon its ghostly forehead.
Marley!
And though the eyes were wide open, they were perfectly motionless.
Jacob Marley!
And then,
as Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again.
Humbug, I say. Oh, well. Jacob Marley. There's a thing. I must have seen that knocker every day for the past... how many years? It had never before looked like Jacob Marley. Dead. 7 years to the day. Humbug. Must have been a trick of the light. All the same. Yes. Nobody under the table. Nobody under the sofa. Nobody under the bed. Nobody in my shawl.
After several turns of the room, he sat down again, and as he threw his head back in the chair, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell, which once communicated with a servant's room in the basement of the building.
And it was with great astonishment and with a strange, inexplicable dread that as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing.
It swung so softly in the outset that it scarcely made a sound. But soon it rang out loudly, and so did every bell in the house. This might have lasted half a minute, or a minute, but it seemed an hour.
The wind. It must have been the wind. This is an old house, a very drafty old... Chains? Somebody dragging chains? It's humbug still, I won't believe it.
But he believed it when, without a pause, the spectre came in through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes.
The same face, the very same. Jacob Marley.
The chain he drew was clasped about his middle. It was long and wound about him like a tail, and it was made of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses wrought in steel.
What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me, do you?
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because any little thing can affect them. Eating rich food can make you see things. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug. All right. But dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do, I must. But why do spirits walk the earth, and why do they come to me?
It is required of every living person that the spirit within him should live amongst his fellow humans and travel far and wide. And if that spirit fails to reach out to others in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world, seeing all the people whom it could have made happy when it was alive, but whom it is now powerless to help.
You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I put it on of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Is this pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil of chains you bear yourself? It was as heavy and as long as the 7 Christmases ago. You have labored on it since. It is a weighty chain.
Jacob, oh Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give. Comfort comes from other regions, Ebenezer Scrooge, and it is conveyed by other agents to other kinds of men. A very little more is permitted to me. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house. Listen to me. In life, my spirit never moved beyond the narrow limits of our counting changing hole, and weary journeys lie before me.
7 years dead? And traveling all the time?
The whole time. No rest, no peace. Ceaselessly tortured by guilt and regret. And all because I did not understand in life that no amount of regret can make up for a missed opportunity.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business! Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, understanding, and generosity were all my business. At this time of the rolling year, I suffer most. But hear ye, my time is nearly gone.
I will, but don't be hard upon me, Jacob.
How is it that I appear before you in a shape that you can see I may not tell? I have sat invisible beside you many and many a day. But I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope that I have arranged for you, Ebenezer.
You were always a very good friend to me, thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once, Jacob, and have it over?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate.
The apparition walked backward from him, and at every step it took, the window raised itself a little, so that when the spectre reached it, it was wide open. It beckoned Scrooge to approach, which he did.
The spectre raised its hand. Scrooge became aware of confused noises in the air, incoherent sounds of lamentation and regret.
When Scrooge looked out the window, the air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste, and moaning as they went.
Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Some few were linked together, none were free.
All were people known to Scrooge.
But why are they here?
Hey, these are the spirits of men and women who had the power to do good to others in their lives, but chose not to. Now they are dead, and it is too late.
Is there no hope for them, Jacob? Can nothing be done to put an end to their torment? Jacob? Jacob?
Look to see me no more, and look after that. For your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
Ten, 11, 12, 12 o'clock. It was past 2 when I went to bed. The clock's wrong. An icicle must have got in the works. 12?
12 o'clock midnight and all's well.
A quarter past already? Half past? A quarter to 1?
Expect the first spirit when the clock strikes 1. Expect the first spirit when the clock strikes 1.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
And if I may ask, what business brings you here?
Your welfare. Come, walk with me.
It would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the bed was warm and that the thermometer a long way below freezing,
or that he was clad but lightly in his slippers, dressing gown, and nightcap.
For the spirit's grasp, though gentle, was not to be resisted. Scrooge rose, but finding that the spirit made towards the window, clasped its robe in supplication.
I am a mortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand there, and you shall be uplifted.
As these words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood up upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Good heavens! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here. I had forgotten.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
Just a pimple.
Ah, you recollect the way.
Remember it. I could walk it blindfold.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on. The school is not quite yet deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know. All I had to keep me company was a book of fairy tales. Poor boy. I wish I... But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Let's see another Christmas. When you had a surprise visit from your sister Fan.
I have come to bring you home, dear brother. To bring you home, home, home.
Home, little Fan.
Yes, home for good and all, home forever and ever. Father's so much kinder than he used to be that home's like heaven. He spoke so gently to me one dear night when I was going to bed that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home, and he said, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you, and yet never to come back here, but first we're to be together all the Christmas long and have the merriest time in all the world.
You're quite a woman, little Fan.
Come on, the coachman's waiting.
Always a delicate creature, whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right, I will not gainsay it, Spirit, God forbid.
She died a woman, and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True. Your nephew Fred.
Yes.
Do you know where you are now?
No, the city. But wait, I think I was apprenticed round here. Yes, why, it's Fezziwig, my old master. Bless his heart, it's Fezziwig, alive again.
Yo ho there, Ebenezer, all of you. Yo ho, my boys, no more work tonight. Christmas Eve. Ebenezer, let's have the decorations up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Clear away, my lads. Let's have lots of room here.
Oh, clear away. There was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away. They couldn't have cleared away with old Fezziwig looking on.
Let's have it done before you can say Jack Robinson. The floor swept, the lamps trimmed, fuel heaped upon the fire, and turned this old warehouse into as snug and warm and dry and bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night. That's it, fiddler. Make an orchestra of it.
In came Mrs. Fezziwig, one vast substantial smile.
In came the three Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable.
In came the three young followers whose hearts they broke. In came all the young men and women employed in the business.
Now into the dining room, everybody, where there is
cake! And a great piece of cold roast.
A great piece of cold boiled.
Potatoes.
And mince pies. And plenty of beer.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
It isn't that, Spirit. He had the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our work light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. The happiness he gave was quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing in particular.
Something, I think.
No. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit, just now. That's all.
My time grows short. Quick.
And again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of his life. His face had not the harsh and rigid lines of later years, but it had begun to wear the signs of care and avarice.
He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, Spirit, it's my fiancée, Belle. We were to be married, but...
Listen.
Matters little. To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
Idol has displaced me.
The golden one. The love of money.
Typical of this. People claim to detest poverty and in the very next breath condemn the pursuit of wealth.
You fear too much what people say, and I doubt that you care any more what the world thinks of you. I have seen your nobler ambitions fall away one by one until you have become obsessed by the master passion, gain. Have I not?
What if I have? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I'm not changed towards you. Am I?
We agreed to be married when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good time we could improve our worldly fortune by patient hard work. You are changed. You are not the man I fell in love with, Ebenezer.
I was a boy.
You know that you have changed. I have not. When we were one heart, we could have been happy, but now... How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever asked to be released?
In words, no. Never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in different ambitions, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If we were not already engaged to be married, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? No.
You think not?
I would gladly think otherwise if I could. But if you were free, can even I believe that you would choose a penniless girl as your wife? You, who judge everything by its price. Or even if you did choose her, do I not know that you would soon bitterly regret it? I do. And I release you.
No!
Full heart for the love of him you once were. You may have pain from this, and the memory of what is past half makes me hope that you will. But a very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the memory of it gladly as an unprofitable dream from which, fortunately for you, you awoke.
Go after her, you fool!
May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?
One more shadow.
No, no more. No more. I cannot bear to see it. Show me no more.
They were in another scene and place, a room, not very large or handsome, but full of comfort. Near to the winter fire sat Belle, older now, and opposite her a young man, her husband.
Well, I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon.
Who was it?
Guess.
How can I? I know. Mr. Scrooge.
I passed his office window, and as it was not shut up and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon the point of death, I hear. And there he sat alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Spirit, remove me from this place.
I told you these were shadows of the things that have been. Do not blame me that this is the way they are.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
Expect the second spirit.
Expect the second spirit on the night at the same hour.
Expect the second spirit on the next night at the same hour. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation.
The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green, and the crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as that dull hearth had never known in Scrooge's time, or Marley's, or for many and many a winter season gone.
Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, great joints of meat, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam.
And in easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it high, high up to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. Oh, come here and know me better, man. You have never seen the like of me before.
Never.
Have you never walked forth with the younger members of my family, meaning, for I am very young, My elder brothers, born in these later years?
I'm afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
Oh, more than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for.
Come with me.
Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe.
Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast.
The room disappeared, and suddenly they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning.
And as people passed, the spirit would shake glittering incense upon them.
Is there a particular flavour in what you sprinkle from your torch?
There is, my own.
Would it add a taste to any kind of dinner on this day?
Oh, to any dinner given in kindness. To a poor one most.
Why to a poor one most?
Because it needs it most. Now, let us stop here and bless Bob Cratchit's 4-roomed home. Oh, it is a poor home. Bob has only 15 shillings a week to keep a family on. That is the wage you pay him, Scrooge.
And there was Mrs. Cratchit, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for sixpence.
And she laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, also brave in ribbons, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes.
That's it, Belinda. What's Peter up to?
He's mashing the potatoes.
Hey, Ma, can't I go out a bit before we has our dinner?
It's Christmas Day, Peter. What on earth do you want to go out for?
He's got Dad's shirt on. Ma, didn't you notice? He wants to show himself off a bit.
And now little Lucy Cratchit came tearing in, screaming that she had smelt the goose and danced upon the table.
I can smell the goose cooking. I can smell the goose cooking.
I hope you can. It's got sage and onion stuffing in it.
Sage and onion stuffing, sage and onion stuffing.
Whatever's got your precious father then, and your brother, Tiny Tim, and Martha want us late last Christmas Day by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother.
Here's Martha, Mother. Hurrah, there's such a goose, Martha.
Well, bless your heart alive, my dear, how late you are.
We had a deal of work to finish up last night and had to clear away this morning, Mother.
Well, never you mind so long as you are come. Sit you down by the fire, my dear, and have a warm. Lord bless you.
No, no, there's Father coming. Hide, Martha, hide.
Why? Where's our Martha?
Not coming.
Oh, not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day?
Here I am, dear Father, here I am.
Fancy thinking our Martha wouldn't come home on Christmas Day.
As if any of us wouldn't be here, Father.
Come and smell the goose, Tim.
And how did little Tim behave in church?
Oh, as good as gold. And better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much. And he thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in church because he was a cripple. And it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. I believe he's growing strong and hearty. I hope he's growing strong and hearty.
Hush, Bob, he's coming back.
Now then, are all the glasses filled?
Give us a toast then, Bob.
I give you a Merry Christmas to all, me dears. God bless us.
God
bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, kind Spirit, say he will be spared.
If these spirits remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. Well, what then? Oh, if he be like to die, he'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Man, if you be man at heart and not stone, cast out that wicked speech you have discovered. what the surplus is and where it is? Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be in the night of heaven. You are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
Mr. Scrooge. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children. Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard and unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink the health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge.
Well done, Tiny Tim. And now, Mother, are we ready to eat?
Just wondering if the pudding will be done enough.
Posing it breaks, Ma, while you're turning it out.
Supposing someone gets over the wall while we're eating the goose and steals it.
I think it's been stole already.
Remember, Scrooge, if these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, Spirit, no.
Now, see another Christmas.
He said that Christmas was a humbug. As I live, he believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
Comical old fellow, that's the truth. And not so pleasant as he might be, however. His offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he is very rich, Fred. At least you always told me so.
What of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking that he is ever going to benefit us with it.
I have no patience with him.
I have. I am sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself always. He takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? He loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. I am sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his mouldy old office or his dusty chambers. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but I am determined to go in there in good temper, year after year, and say, Uncle Scrooge, how are you? If it only puts him in the mood to leave his poor clerk £50, that'd be something.
Well, let's get on to pleasanter subjects. Come on, Mr. Topper, time for one of your games.
He invited me today, Spirit.
And this is where you would be now, enjoying these innocent pleasures.
All right. It's called Yes and No.
Oh, it's yes and no. Spirit, I love this game.
Someone thinks of a subject, a person or a place or an animal, anything, and we are allowed to ask 20 questions to find out what it is.
You can only answer yes or no. Isn't that right, Mr. Topper?
Exactly.
I'll start, and I'll give you a clue. It's an animal.
A live animal?
Yes.
A rather disagreeable animal?
Yes.
Or is it a bear?
No.
Is it a lion?
Is it a lion?
No.
Does it live in a zoo?
No.
Does it
live in London?
Yes.
I asked that.
Oh, does it walk about the streets?
Yes.
I have found it out. I know what it is, Fred. I know what it is.
What is it?
Yes, what is it?
It's your Uncle Scrooge. Fred.
Wait a minute. When I asked, is it a bear, you said no.
Given us plenty of merriment, I am sure, and it would be ungrateful not to drink his health. My mother loved him, and I am sure saw much good in him. So, here's to Uncle Scrooge, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it nevertheless. Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
Scrooge.
Now, presents, everyone.
And a Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Now be an intermission of 5 minutes.
Spirit, is it my imagination, or have you grown older? Are spirits' lives so short?
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark! The time is growing near. Look there!
Scrooge followed the spirit's outstretched arm to where the gaggle of Marley's wandering ghosts had been observing him.
And from among their number emerged 2 children, wretched, abject, frightful, miserable, hideous.
A boy and a girl, yellow, meagre, ragged, scowling, wolfish, kneeling at the spirit's feet and clinging upon the outside of its garment.
Oh, man! Look there! Look there!
Spirit, are they yours?
They belong to humankind. That girl is ignorance. This boy is want. Beware them both, and all to their degree. But most of all, beware this girl. For on her brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased.
Have they nowhere to go?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? Are there no prisons?
Spirit,
are there no work?
Do not leave me! Spirit! Spirit!
Spare the third spirit. Expect the third spirit upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate.
Lifting up his eyes, Scrooge beheld a terrifying phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him.
It was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand.
I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come.
The spirit answered not, but pointed downward with its hand.
You are about to show me the shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that so, Spirit?
The spirit seemed to bow its head. That was the only answer Scrooge received. But he sensed, with a vague, uncertain horror, that behind the dusky shroud there were ghostly eyes intently fixed upon him.
Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me?
It gave him no reply, but the hand was pointed straight before them.
Lead on! Lead on! The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. Lead on, Spirit. I know these men and women. They look prosperous now, but they've all borrowed from me one time or another.
Oh, I don't know much about it. Either way, I know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
Oh, God knows.
What has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life I don't know of anybody to go to it. Suppose we volunteer.
I don't mind going if lunch is provided.
Well, I never wear black gloves and I never eat lunch, but I'll offer to go if anybody else will. When I come to think of it, I'm not at all sure that I wasn't his most particular friend. But once or twice, we stopped and exchanged a couple of words when we met. Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. Perhaps we'll see you there.
If we can be bothered to go.
The phantom glided on into another street. Its finger pointed to 2 more city types.
Scrooge knew these people also perfectly. They were financiers, very wealthy and of great importance.
Yet made a point of always standing well in their esteem. In a business point of view, that is. Strictly in a business point of view.
How are you?
How are you?
Well, Old Scratch has got his own at last, eh?
Old Scratch. That's a good one. Old Scratch.
So I am told, cold, isn't it?
Well, seasonable for Christmas time. You're not a skater, I suppose.
No. Far too busy for such frivolity. Good morning.
Someone died, Spirit? Who is it? Who are they talking about? Who could this friendless person be?
They entered an obscure part of the town. The ways were foul and narrow, the shops and houses wretched, the people half naked, drunken, slipshod.
Alleys and archways, like so many cesspools, disgorged their offences of smell and dirt and life upon the straggling streets, and the whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth, with misery.
Far in this den of infamous resort, there was a low-browed beetling shop where iron, old rags, bottles, bones, and greasy offal were bought.
Sitting in among the wares he dealt in, by a charcoal stove made of old bricks, was a grey-haired rascal who smoked his pipe in all the luxury of calm retirement.
A woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the shop, but she had scarcely entered when another woman, similarly laden, came in too.
And she was closely followed by a man in faded black, who was no less startled by the sight of them than they had been upon the recognition of each other.
Well, no. That's the thing. All three. We're one mind.
Why not, Mrs. Dibbler? Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did.
Oh, that's true indeed. No man more so.
So who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed. He's not going to miss them where he's gone.
Very true, and you couldn't have come to a better place. All right then, who's first? Let's see what you've got.
I was first, old Joe. The laundry's ear was second. And the undertaker's man was third.
If he wanted to hold on to his things after he were dead, the wicked old screw, why weren't he nice to people in his lifetime? If he'd been, he'd have had somebody look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out his last there alone by himself.
Is the truest word ever was spoke, is a judgment on him.
I wish it were a little heavier judgment. It should have been, you may depend on it. If I could have laid my hands on anything else.
Oh, what have we got? A pencil case, a pair of cufflinks, and a ring of no great value. I'll give you threepence and not a farthing more if I was to be boiled for not doing it. Who's next?
The laundress is next.
Sheets and towels. Two old-fashioned teaspoons. Sugar tongs and a few old boots. Here you are. Fourpence. I always give too much to ladies. It's a weakness of mine, and that's the way I ruin myself.
Now undo my bundle, Joe.
What's this? Bed curtains? The miser's bed curtains?
Bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, and with him lying there before he'd been put in his grave?
Yes, I do. Why not?
You were born to make your fortune, you were.
I'm not going to hold back out of respect for a man like that. Here's his blankets, Joe.
His blankets?
Why not? He isn't as likely to get cold where he is he?
He didn't die of anything catching, did he?
Do you think I'd have hung around there if he had? You may look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare spot. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. I'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you mean, wasted it?
Well, putting it on him to be buried in, to be sure. Somebody was fool enough to do it, but I took it off again. If sacking ain't good enough for such a purpose, it ain't good enough for anything. Anyways, he couldn't look uglier than he did in that shirt.
6pence the lot.
Done. This is how it ends, you see. He frightened everybody away from him when he was alive, just to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven! What is this?
He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and he saw a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay a something covered up, which, though it was mute, announced itself in awful language.
A dead man, Spirit? If this man could be raised up now, what would be his foremost thoughts? Money? Hard dealing? Griping cares? They've brought him to a fine end, truly. He lies in the dark, empty house, with not a man, a woman, or a child to say, he was kind to me in this or that, and for the memory of one kind word, I will be kind to him. Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not leave its lesson, trust me. But before you go, you must tell me, is there no one who feels some emotion connected to this man's death? No one at all?
The phantom spread its dark robe before him for a moment, like a wing, and withdrawing it, revealed a room by daylight, where a woman sat anxiously next to her husband.
Is it good news or bad? We're quite ruined.
No, there is hope yet.
Oh yes, if he relents, there is. Nothing is past hope, if such a miracle were to happen.
He is past relenting. He is dead.
Thank heaven. God forgive me.
When I tried to call on him yesterday, there was no answer. He must have been dying even then.
But to whom do we owe our debt now? Who will take it over?
I don't know, and it doesn't matter. We now have time to be ready with the money, and even if we are not, it would be bad luck indeed to find our debt in the hands of anyone as merciless as he. We may sleep tonight with light hearts, Caroline.
How terrible for a man to be so unloved that good people rejoice when he dies. I beg you, Spirit, let me now see some tenderness at a person's death, some sadness at their loss. All these dark events will be forever present to me.
The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet, and they entered poor Bob Cratchit's house and found the mother and children seated round the fire.
Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him. The mother and her daughters were engaged in sewing.
But surely they were very quiet.
The colour hurts me eyes. They're better now again. It makes them weak by candlelight, and I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home for the world. It must be near his time.
Lost it rather, but I think he has walked a little slower than he used these last few evenings, Mother.
I've known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder, very fast indeed.
And so have I, often.
And so have I.
But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble, no trouble.
You've all been busy. At this rate, you'll be done long before Sunday.
Sunday? You went to the churchyard today then, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often, I promised him that. I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child.
Please don't be sad, Father.
Don't grieve so.
I met Mr. Scrooge's nephew on the way back, my dear. He observed that I looked just a little down, you know. And when I told him what had happened, he said, for he's the pleasantest spoken gentleman you ever heard, I am heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit, and heartily sorry for your good wife. By the by, how he ever knew that, I don't know.
Knew what, my dear?
Why, that you were a good wife.
Everybody knows that.
Very well observed, my boy. I hope they do. Heartily sorry, he said, for your good wife. If I can be of service to you in any way, he said, giving me his card, that's where I live. Pray come to me. Now, it wasn't for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us, so much as for his kind way, that this was quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us. Oh, I'm sure we shall none of us forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we? Or this first parting that there ever was among us.
Never, Father.
And I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves and forget poor Tiny Tim in doing it.
No, never, Father.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
Spectre, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but know not how. Tell me, what man was that whom we saw lying dead? A churchyard. Here then, the wretched man whose name I have now to learn lies underneath the ground. It is a worthy place, walled in by houses, overrun by grass and weeds, choked up with too much burying. A worthy place. Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that may be only? A man's actions in life will lead him to a particular end. I know that. But if he changes, if he begins to lead a different kind of life, surely the ending can be changed. Say it is thus with what you show me.
But the spirit was immovable as ever.
Trembling as he went, Scrooge crept towards the grave and read the name engraved on the neglected stone.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge! Am I the man who lay upon the bed, unloved and unmourned? The man whose death people rejoiced over? No, Spirit. Oh, no, Spirit. Hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been if all this had not happened. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good Spirit, assure me that I may yet change these shadows you've shown me by an altered life. I will honour Christmas in my heart and keep it all year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three will strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may wash away the writing on this stone.
Holding up his hands in one last prayer to have his fate reversed, Scrooge saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down.
Into a bedpost.
A bedpost? Bed curtains? I thought it was a spirit, and it turns out to be bed curtains. Oh, the bed is my own, the curtains are my own, but best of all, The future is my own to make amends in. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, Jacob Marley, on my knees. The bed curtains are not torn down, rings and all. They're here. I'm here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will be. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as merry as a schoolboy, as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world. Oh, there's the door by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered. There's the corner where the ghost of Christmas present sat. There's the window where the saw the wandering spirits. It's all right. It's all true. It all happened. Oh, I don't know what the day of the month is. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. Never mind. I don't care. I'm going to open a window. Oh, no fog. No mist. Nothing but clear, bright, stirring, cold piping for the blood to dance to, and glorious sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet fresh air, merry bells, oh, glorious. Hey there, what's today?
Eh?
Yeah, what's today, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day? I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fella.
Hello.
Now, do you know the poulterers in the next street but one, at the corner?
I should hope I did.
An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one.
What, the one as big as me?
What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck.
Hey, it's hanging there now.
Is it? Go and buy it.
You're joking.
No, I'm in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here that I may give them the address where to take it. Come back with the man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's. He shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. It'll be far too heavy to carry to Camden Town. The boy will need a cab and I'll pay for it.
Scrooge dressed himself all in his best and descended to the street.
I shall love that door knocker as long as I live. I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has in its face. It's a wonderful knocker.
People were by this time pouring forth, and Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humoured fellows said,
Good morning, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
And Scrooge said often afterward that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears.
He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the charity visitors who had walked into his counting house the day before.
My dear friends, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you both.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name, and I fear it will not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon. And will you have the goodness to accept a small donation?
Lord bless me. Well, my dear Mr. Scrooge, are you sure?
If you please, not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favour?
Dear sir, we don't know what to say. Such generosity.
Don't say anything, please. Come and see me. Will you come and see me?
Oh, we will. We certainly will.
Thank you. I'm much obliged to you. Bless you. Oh, Fred, my dear nephew, Fred. And Dora, my dear.
Why, bless my soul, who's this?
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. Fred, Dora, dear, I would like to come to dinner with you today. Will you let me come?
Let you come?
Uncle Scrooge, of course we'll let you come.
Oh, and there's a little plan I'd like you to help me with, Fred. Will you do that?
Of course I will. It's going to be such a Christmas. Oh, Uncle, My mother would be so happy.
It was the best of Christmases for Fred and Dora, but Scrooge was early at the office the next morning.
If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late, that was the thing he had set his heart upon.
Ha! 9 o'clock and no Bob Cratchit. Good morning, Mr. Cratchit. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. I was making rather merry yesterday. I'm afraid I'm behind my time.
Yes, you are. Yes, I think you are 18 minutes by my reckoning. Step this way, sir, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated.
I'm going to tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I'm going to raise your salary. A Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I've given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary, Bob. I'll help you look after your family. And I'll be a second father to Tiny Tim. I'll be as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knows, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. A Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry
Merry
Christmas!
Christmas! Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he truly was a second father. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh and little heeded them.
For he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter in the outset. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him.
And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep an open heart. If any man alive possessed the knowledge, may that truly be said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
Lord bless us, everyone!
Grandfather, I have a question.
Go on.
When you were my age, were you really very small?
I was very small and very weak.
So that's why they called you Tiny Tim?
That's why they called me Tiny Tim. And the best of Christmases to one and all!
In A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the part of the grandfather was played by Robert Weiser, the mother by Meg LeBeau, the father by Langston Cottman. The Ghost of Christmas Past was played by Dre Weeks, The Ghost of Christmas Present by Brian Monsell, Ebenezer Scrooge by John O'Connor, Jacob Marley by David Menton, Bob Cratchit by Richie Porter, Mrs. Cratchit by Kelly Newman O'Connor, and Fred by Keith Anderson. Fezziwig was played by Brad Sperber. Scrooge is a Young Man, Topper, and the Undertaker's Man by Sam Felsenthal. Belle, Belinda Cratchit, and Emily by Grace Sperber White. Belle's Husband by Michael Novello. Mrs. Fezziwig and Mrs. Dilber by Celeste Lucid Weiser. Old Joe by Ian Four. The Laundress and Dora by Maddie Sperber White. And Martha Cratchit and Caroline by Liz Porter. The charity visitors were played by Cassie Gabriel and Michael Novello. The business people by Cassie Gabriel, Brad Sperber, Liz Porter, Mark Jefferson, and Ian Four. The Fezziwig daughters by Liz Porter, Grace Sperber White, and Hanan Miles. Boy Scrooge, Peter Cratchit, and the Butcher's Boy by Jasper Four. Grandchild Martha, Fan, Lucy Cratchit, and Ignorance by Hanan Miles. And Tiny Tim, Grandchild Timothy, Want, and the Urchin by Michaela Phillips. Thank you for joining us this evening for a Yuletide Classic. As always, if you enjoy the performance, please consider making a donation to Lumina Studio Theater. Just go to our website at luminastudio.org. And please do join us in the new year to ring in a new season of virtual performance readings by the Lumina Theater Group, to be announced soon. And now, from all of us to all of you,
God bless us, everyone!